Hey everybody, hope you're doing well today. Let's talk about some chainsaw bar maintenance. Hopefully you saw the short I did on the tools you use for maintaining your chainsaw bar, but let's go into a little more detail. Let's go through the bar and talk about some things that I do. Maybe not everybody does, but you know, to each his own. There's one thing I wanted to clarify right out of the gate. This is a chainsaw bar. This is a chain. This is a cutter. Right here. That's a cutter. This is a blade. This does not fit the chainsaw. This is not, nowhere does this fit on a chainsaw. This is a blade. Again, this is a chain. This is a cutter on the chain. This is a bar. A bar and a chain with cutters do the cutting on a chainsaw, not a blade. That's a pet peeve of mine. I think it's funny. There's some running jokes with some buddies of mine and you know, everybody everybody harasses me about it, but there's no blade on a chainsaw. If you're using a chop saw, there may be a blade. On a chainsaw, there's a chain and a cutter and a bar. Now that we got that out of the way, a chain sharp too, by the way. Don't ask me how I know that. I'm kidding. Let's get into maintaining this bar. Every time you take your bar off the saw to clean your saw, you should be doing this periodically anyway. I have a video on cleaning the saw. I'm not going to go into that right now, but every so often, after a good day of cutting, is when I take the bar and chain off. I blow everything out with compressed air. While I do that, I take my groove cleaner and I clean my groove. This one's already been done, so I'm probably not going to get much out of it, but this is what I do. Okay, it's the first thing I do is I clean my groove. Oh, there, we got some out of it. After I'm done with that, then I take compressed air and I blow from the sprocket end down the rail to the open end. I'll blow it 2 or 3 times, flip it, blow the other side 2 or 3 times. It gets all that gunk out of there. Okay, then I'll take a wire brush and I'll scrub any of this stuff that's on here, any of this gunk. I'll scrub that off. I'm not going to do it all right now, but you can see how quickly it comes off just by doing that. I just did this little area right there, so it comes off pretty quickly. Then I'll blow it again just to make sure I didn't put anything, put any granules or anything like that in there. Make sure that the sprocket tip is spinning freely. And then if there is a hole, a grease hole for the bearing on the sprocket tip, I will grease it. This particular OEM Husqvarna bar does not have a hole for the grease. So this sprocket tip lubricates from bar oil. That's perfectly fine. It's not the end of the world. If your sprocket tip does not have a hole, it's perfectly fine. It's designed to lubricate from bar oil. There's a lot of guys out there who say the sprocket tips with the holes in them for grease are a waste of time. I never grease them. I do this, I do that. To each his own. Those guys, they're not burning up sprocket tips. You're fine. But if you have a hole for the grease and you want to grease it. That's all you got to do. I'm not weighing in on the pros or cons. I grease mine periodically. I'm not, oh my God, I got to grease it before I go cutting today. No. I grease it periodically. Again, this is a blade. It's nowhere near your chainsaw. Knew that was going to land. Good thing nobody was over there. Okay, the other thing I'll do is I want to check my rails. Okay, I'm going to check these rails. I want to make sure, I want to inspect them. I'll run my finger down them gently. Be careful of running your finger down because if you do have a burr on it, it's going to open you up. It'll slice you pretty good. So be careful. Check the rails. Inspect them. If you do have to, use the rail dresser. Use this tool. It's a file with a 90-degree edge, and you use like that. That's what it's directional, obviously. I think the way I have it now, it's pulling back. Use that to dress your rails. If you have mushrooming, excessive mushrooming on the side, you have either a bar oil or issue or a dull chain or both. You're burning your bar and your mushroom, you're rolling the edges. That's no good. Stop and fix the problem. Again, check your chain, it's probably dull, and check to make sure your bar is oiled, or your oiler is oiling your bar and chain properly. It's probably not. One of those two things, I would assure you, is the problem, and that's why you're rolling that edge, if you have that rolled edge. Personally, I hit it with a sander real quick and knock it off, and it's done. You can use a hand file if you don't have a sander, or you're not that comfortable using a sander. Use a hand file, true that edge up, and then go with a rail dresser. No problem. So now my rails are dressed. Again, compressed air. I blow all the metal shavings out from filing. Okay. Now what am I going to do? Well, now I'm going to take my little Husqvarna multi-tool here. This shows you different chain pitch, shows you all different for the drivers. There's width gaps there to size up your drivers, and then on the corners here, I have a little leash on mine because I hang it up by my workbench. But all these corners, these are all gauges to check your bar groove. Okay, so we're going to go to 050 because this is an 050 bar. I take this 050 and I'm going to check it. It's like this. I'll put it in there. You guys see that? And I'm just going to pull it right down. I'm going to make sure there's no tight spots or no loose spots. Okay, that seemed pretty consistent all the way through. If there's a loose spot, if there's a tight spot, we need to figure out why. We probably pinched our bar. We need to get something in there. We need to open it up. Probably a screwdriver or a very small prying device of some sort to open it up. I've opened them up before. I just use a good screwdriver. I can get in there and work it a little bit. If it's opened up too much, and I apologize, I do not have this with me right now. My rail closer. It's called a rail closer. Basically, you adjust it. It's two wheels that roll down the rail, and you push on it and roll it down, and it will pinch the rail back to the desired width. You may over close it and you have to open it back up a little bit, but you can true a rail up pretty good with that. So if your rail gets a little dinged up or something like that, don't throw the bar away unless you want to go buy a new bar. But these things are pretty durable. They'll last a while. Even if you, like I said, even if you nick them up, even if you beat them up a little bit, you can repair them. Hopefully everyone's learned a little something from this video today. Guys, be kind, saw safe, and enjoy life. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe.